artists are weird people, because there's like, I used to try and explain to my wife, because she didn't understand why you can't work like 3 hours a day every day on something. It's kind of when it moves you. Exactly.
A Waupaca County man has an incredible gift of transforming a simple piece of wood into a lifelike bird or animal.
His detailed carvings have won first in class at national competitions. And tonight in Small Towns, Jeff Alexander travels to Clintonville to learn more about his unique wood carving journey.
In his basement shop,
So you can get that real fine feather look in there.
Rick Goodell is putting the finishing touches
And I'll start putting detail in this feather.
on his latest creation,
What I'm doing now is giving it depth.
a woodcock he's carved out of wood.
And then the key to what you're doing now is you're blending it.
As a young boy growing up in northern Minnesota near the Canadian border, Rick was fascinated with his grandpa's wood carvings.
Mainly he carved small animals and whistles and stuff like that to give to the kids and stuff. And that was my first exposure to it. And then in high school I had an art teacher that was big into sculpture, but he didn't care what medium you worked in. And I chose wood, and that's where I did the first carving for my father.
After graduating college, Rick began his career as an engineer in Minneapolis. That's also when he met Grant Goltz, a world champion waterfowl decoy carver, and they became friends.
And he was making more carving waterfowl than I was making working, and I thought, you know what, this might be another opportunity.
Rick stuck with his engineering job that eventually led him to South Dakota, but in his free time, he got serious about carving. In his early 30s, he entered shows, won awards, and made some good money selling his pieces. But then in 1989, Rick took a job with FWD in Clintonville as a chassis engineer. And now with a family to raise, his carving underwent a major hiatus.
From 1989, when I left South Dakota, till 2016, I never picked up a knife. One time.
Right after he retired, though, his wife signed him up for a local carving class.
And I went there, and that kind of
reignited the fire?
Yes.
Rick was back at it after all those years.
This bird here is common here and all over the country. It is a loggerhead shrike, and it is the only carnivorous songbird.
But this time with a different game plan.
Instead of doing waterfowl, because when I did waterfowl competitively, I could get as much as $500–600 in a bird. So I thought I'd start doing songbirds or something smaller.
That doesn't mean, though, that Rick won't switch over to an occasional animal, like this moose.
I mean, that looks real.
Well, that's the point.
Rick says these days he's enjoying his hobby more than ever because it's not about making money anymore.
The fun part of it is the people you meet. And honestly, why I originally got out of it is because I was doing it for money and making a lot of money doing it. And at one point in time, I lost all of the artistic part of it, because when people start paying you a lot of money to do something, then they come and they tell you what to do.
Over the last decade, word of Rick's talent has spread around town. That means his doorbell is often ringing to signal a unique offering on the porch.
So I have friends that will find a songbird dead on the road or something, and they'll drop it off and say, "Here, you want this?"
And what do you tell them?
Usually yes. Because then there's nothing like the real thing to use as an example.
When it comes to carving and painting, Rick generally heads to his shop in the evenings. He says his days tend to get busy.
Once people find out you're retired, they have all kinds of projects for you. So don't tell anybody when you retire.
These days, Rick enters his carvings in 3 or 4 shows a year. He's come to appreciate the friendships he's made and the tremendous relaxation he gains from his hobby.
It's a way to get away from everything, because when you get into it, I mean, you really get into it. You're pretty much singular focused.
Without any concern he'll ever run out of ideas for his next carving.
Oh, yeah, there's a bird book this thick.
In Clintonville with photojournalist Michael Bergman, I'm Jeff Alexander for Small Towns.
Beautiful. What a talent.
Maybe if I got a big buck this weekend, I could take him over. There's a fellow Clintonville boy, you know.
I thought people were going to say that they left logs, like wood, on his doorstep. I didn't know it was birds. That's funny, though. Nice.
Great job, my friend. Next week in Small Towns, we celebrate Thanksgiving by looking back at all the amazing people we've met in small towns in recent months.